Hi everybody, my name is Robin with Robin Stampin' Hood, and welcome to my Blends with Friends class using the Stampin' Up! Blending brushes. We're going to make 3 beautiful cards using pretty simple techniques just to get you used to using the blending brushes. They're a great tool to have, and I hope you enjoy. Happy stampin'! Okay, the first card we're going to do is this fun card here. This is just the very basics of how to use these blending brushes. Now, I recommend, I would get a dozen of them. They're not that expensive, and maybe create color families for them. What I've done is, you can see I haven't quite used that one yet, a few different primary colors. So my oranges, my pinks, my blues, my greens, I do recommend that. It will make it a little bit easier. You don't need one of every color, but I would at least get a dozen that you can use with all the different 40 colors, 50 colors that Stampin' Up! Has. So we're going to start using this brush here, which is my oranges and my yellows. And we're using the designer series paper called True Love that you can find in the mini catalog, which is good until the end of June. Now, you might have looked at this paper and said, it's just black and white. Well, once you see how to use the blends with this, you are going to love this. So the colors I'm using are Mango Melody and Calypso Coral. You can use any colors you like, but these are the two that I thought I would work with today. So the first color I'm going to use is, and I always recommend going lighter to darker. So I feel like the Calypso Coral is a little bit lighter than the Mango Melody. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little tap on the pad to pick up the ink. Now, I watched lots of people's videos on how they do different things, and I was telling people we should probably, do off like that first before you start working, because you can see kind of how it smudges like that. Well, somebody I was watching actually used a block to do this, which I really like this idea because you can save yourself some ink. So I'm getting off the big blobs that you might encounter, and then I'm starting off on the edge, and I'm just working my way over. And if I want, and we're going to do about a third of a color of each here, and I'm going to pick up this color that I've left, and now I have some more. So I really like that about this idea, that I'm not wasting any ink. See, I just did a big boo-boo there by doing that. I didn't quite hit off my ink like I should have. So just keep that in mind when you're using your inks. I'm going to go ahead and hit that again. See how you kind of hit it off a little bit? I want to get up on the top there. And I'm just going to take this too and hit it around the edge to get some color along the edge as well. So that's my first color. So I'm going to go in now with my Mango Melody. And I'm going to actually flip my block over here. And I'm just going to give it some rub. You can see the colors coming off here. I'm going to get off as much as I can. So you want to do that too. You want to get rid of as much color between. You could use a microfiber cloth as well to help you with that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit myself up there. I'm going to do that same thing, get rid of some of that ink. And then I'm going to come in the middle here. And I'm blending, as I'm doing this, I'm blending this. I don't want a line. So we're just going to give it some more color here. I'll pick back up that color here. And that's just the basic coloring of it. If I wanted to make this more intense, I would keep layering colors onto it. But at this point, this is all I want to do. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to my Mango Melody, which I'm going to close up my Calypso Coral before I put my little foot in it, right? My hand. So I don't want this broadness of the brush, And I will say, I like to hold my finger here. I have a little bit more control. It's not flopping around when I'm doing this. I'm actually controlling the head of it a little bit better. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take I'm just going to ink up right here at the top of it. So I'm just hitting it right here. And I'm going to come with this paper and I'm just going to go right in the middle. If I was just doing this, I wouldn't get it where I wanted it. So that's why I'm just kind of doing it right in the middle, and then it's kind of spreading itself out, if that makes sense. So I just want that color right in the middle there. Okay, so you can see I'm not coloring the whole flower, but it's more intense in the middle, and then as it spreads out on the ends, so you can see that. So the next thing I want to do is I want to take my blends markers, and these are my Granny Apple Green, and I'm just going to do some real quick coloring of the leaves. So I'm going to start with the darker, oops, I just totally pulled that one off of there. I need to get a new, I was messing around with this weekend, and let's see. So I'm going to color that in real quick here. When you're using blends, you want to make sure that they're still wet so they will blend together. Then I'm coming back in with my light color, and I'm gonna put it all together here. You want to go and do that with all the leaves that you have on here, and then you are going to fussy cut out those pieces. Okay, so you should have fussy cut it out, your two flowers that you colored. And we're going to put that aside for a second. And this is from the Stitched Rectangles. And what we're going to do is we're going to give that a little bit of stamp here with the Calypso Coral. I'm actually using the stamp set Dress to Impress, and I'm using the like the color splotches and the Hello Fabulous for this. So that's a nice stamp set to throw those color splotches in. So I didn't want my color quite so intense, so I'm just stamping onto the rectangle. Oops, I didn't do a very good job there, and that's probably because I needed my mat underneath here. So we're going to try that one more time. So we'll go do that, and then we're going to come back, and I'm flipping that puppy over. I shouldn't have done that, and I just did that again. And we're going to do that. Okay, that's good. And then we're going to come back in with black. There, that's all you need there. So let's get this out of the way so we can assemble what we need. Used Calypso Coral as a card base, and I've just folded that in half. So now we're just going to take the piece that we did our blending on, and we're going to glue that down as our base. So this is just a normal, cardstock cut in half, and then this piece is 4 by 5 1/4, and then I've cut a 4 1/4 by 1 inch piece of card or designer series paper from the same designer series stack. So we're just gonna run that across like that, and then we're gonna go ahead and put our flowers down. Okay, beautiful. And I'm gonna pop this one up with dimensionals. Just give it a little bit of extra something. Don't be afraid to use your dimensionals. You don't want it falling down in the center, because when you give this card away, you want it to be beautiful, right? For whoever's gonna get it. Oops. And we're just gonna set that off like that. And I wanted to make sure my green leaves were on the polka dot, so it kind of made them pop out a little bit. And then we're going to take what we stamped with the Hello Fabulous. Same thing, we're going to pop it up. Don't be afraid to use those dimensionals. And we're just going to lay that down right there. And then what I did is I took some of the trim from, this is from the Playful trim from the Playful Pets suite. And I took two of the same pieces, size pieces, and I'm just going to create a bow. And I like to do the double, I don't know what you call it, the double looping like that, just because I think the baker's twine sometimes is too thin to like see it. So I wanted to be able to see it on this piece. So I'm just going to trim it up a little bit. And I'm going to use some glue dots to put it into place. I usually take my glue dots and on a small piece like this, I roll them. And I'm just going to put this down off to the side to give it a little bit of dimension. And that is your first card using your blending brushes. Easy peasy. Okay, our second card is similar to the first, but we're going to do a little bit more intense coloring with this. So what I did is from this designer series paper, I did cut out just a plain flower, and I'm going to set that aside because we'll use that in a bit. And then what I'm going to do is to create this label, I'm using the Lovely Labels punch. Now these labels are great. If you have, this punch is great. If you haven't used it before, you can get 3 different size punches. The first little ledging is a 1/2 inch, and then 3/4 inch, and then 1 inch. So I created this at the 3/4 inch, and see how it slides right along that ledge. It's super important that you keep it in that ledge and then push it directly back until it stops. And then you're going to just do that, and you should have a perfect punch. And you can see, oh yeah, matches good. So again, you're going to do that, run it along that ledge. You're going to push it all the way back and make sure it's stable, and then give it a punch, and you should have a perfect punch. Pretty easy, right? I love this punch because again, you have 2 different punches and 3 different styles. So this punch literally is 6 punches, and you can make this as long or as short as you want it to be to fit any words that you want it to. So if you don't have that, this is the Lovely Labels punch. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do with the blending brushes. So I'm using Calypso Coral and Magenta Madness, and I'm going to start with Magenta Madness, and we're going to kind of do this in force. And I'm not getting rid of the ink like I did on the first card we did, because I want all the ink. We're going to make this really intense. So I'm just going to start off doing this. It's light. I mean, you can see it's kind of what we did on that first card. We didn't do a real intense. We just kind of gave it some color. So you're just going to keep putting color on and making it more and more intense. We want it to be as dark as it can be. And I am kind of starting off on the edge when I'm bringing it in because I don't want it to be globby. But you can see how it's getting darker and darker, right? And then I'm going to come over to this part of it and see how I started off, because I don't want it to be goopy gloppy, but I do want the color to be there. So we're just going to make it as intense of a pink as we can make it. Okay. And we could even go darker than that. I'm going to give it some more going on here. Once I get the Calypso Coral on, you'll see even more so how it is. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside, And then grab some more of this color, and same thing, starting off the edge, and look at it's not very intense, so we're going to keep building that color until it becomes, oops, super intense. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, it's just, it makes me go, okay, I'm going to turn it there. I keep making it a little crazy. I want all the color I can get. Get some more on there. I feel like I don't have enough. And then you just keep bringing it in. And now I'm going to kind of blend all the edges together because we don't want any white on this. Isn't that beautiful? Like, it is so intense versus here's the Calypso coral we used here versus what we're doing there. So that's just your layering color upon color on top of that to get that intense, intense color. I just love it. I think it's so, so beautiful. So now let's go ahead and put the card together. So this is where this little piece is going to come in handy. I'm just going to kind of layer it underneath. You know, I have gotten these ideas from lots of different demos. I can't even tell you who they all are. Everybody's so talented. And I just take what I see from them and I kind of adjust it a little bit and make it more mine. But you might see this with somebody else. It'll just be a little bit different. So we're going to go ahead and layer this. Flip her over, line it up in the middle. Got a little bit of a bent on it, so I want to make sure I'm gonna get it nice and flat so it doesn't have that on there. Isn't that color so intense and pretty against the black? I just love it. Okay, so now we're going to add our words. I'm going to make this one a little different. I'm actually going to make this a thinking of you card. So, or actually a different happy birthday. Oh my goodness. This is the happy birthday out of the Blossoms in Bloom set. Nice and perfectly straight, hopefully. That'll work, right? All right. And then what I'm going to do is layer this little piece of black underneath there. Just run some glue along there. Beautiful. And then I'm going to take some rhinestones, because you have to have a little bit of bling on it, right? And we'll just put those right there and right there. And we're going to pop this up on dimensionals. Once again, we love our dimensionals. For me, it just gives it a little something else. You know, it gives it that little something. It's not just that flat card. And there you go. There is your second card. Super easy using the blends. Our third and final card is this card here. It's probably one of my favorite, just with the different color variations in it. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of, this is just a piece of, make sure I have the right size there. Yep. The 4 by 5 1/4. And you're going to put down your, this is from the Blossoms, I'm going to tell you the right thing here, the Blossoms in Bloom. And you're using it like a mask. So you want to make sure it's on the whole thing. And I have been using little Post-it notes to hold it in place. I don't have any washi tape. I would normally do that, but I am out of washi tape right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this down. I want to make sure it gets held into place so it's not scooting around while I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do. That's all I'm doing here. You could use painter's tape. You could use pretty much anything that's going to come off easy enough. Okay, so we're first going to do that, and I'm going to actually use my blue and green brushes, and the colors that I'm using here are Coastal Cabana and Pacific Point. And again, I'm going to start off with a lighter color first, and I'm actually going to grab the block that we talked about on the first card to hit off some of the ink, just so it's not such a big like blob of ink there. And I'm holding this a little bit with my hands because I want to make sure that it's not moving. So make sure you're moving with the card and not away from the card, otherwise you might rip your mask. I've seen all different kinds of stencils being used on this. You could do your little heart stencils. This just lots of different things that you could use. So I'm just gonna see how it moved. You have to be real careful to make sure it's not moving. I'm trying to keep my hand out of the way there. And then we're gonna come in with Pacific Point and do some more blending. I'm going to flip my block over here because that's a big splotch. And I'm just going to kind of hit where I didn't hit with my Coastal Cabana. I'll turn this a little bit so you can see a little bit better what I'm doing. Oops, I got a fingerprint on there, so be careful on that. I think we're doing pretty good here. I just want to hit some of that off and do that. Maybe do some over here. And you're going to have to move your piece. So I'm going to take back my green, my Coastal Cabana, and we're going to move some of our, you can see that. Hopefully you can see this with trying to keep my hand out of the way. So I'm just doing some coloring around it, but now I want to make sure that I have color along all my edges without moving my mask. So I'm going to go back in with my Coastal Cabana on some of the edges, and then I'll go back in with my blue on my Pacific Point on some of the other. But I want to get rid of some of the white that you're seeing, making sure I'm not putting down the wrong color. And you can see I'm working with the paper because I don't want it to be moving on me. So I'm gonna pull this up over here, and you know what, we'll hit this with some blue. That's a little bit too much blue. You just have to be real careful when you're doing this. Do a little bit more over here. Unless you don't care about the paper underneath. What I'm trying to do is save the paper underneath. Isn't that beautiful? And now you have this amazingly beautiful piece as well. So you can take this and make another card into it. It would be knockout gorgeous to do that. But this is what we're doing with this card, is we're laying it on top of another piece of white. So let me grab my white over here. So you're just gonna lay it down to give it that color. And I just take my glue and I'm hitting it where there's wider pieces. I know a lot of you don't like the glue, but I love the glue. and it helps. Now this is where you could use your silicone mat and put the glue down, and then with a sponge come along. You could absolutely do that too. So I'm going to flip that over. And if it's a little off, that's fine. And I'll probably go back through and add more glue because I didn't get very much on there. But you can see then that's what you're going to do, is you'll lay it down flat. So to finish this card off, I'm using I used the Lovely Labels punch again to create this tag piece. So you're just going to use, I'm changing up my colors a little bit, and I'm going to use the Pacific Point to stamp the tag. You can see in my original sample I used Bermuda Bay, but I think I want it a little bit darker. So let's go ahead and do that. Perfect. And then of course we have to pop it up, right? I'm going to use some dimensionals again. Yeah, if you don't have this Lovely Labels punch, it's like I said, a 6-in-1 kind of punch. I really, really love it. And I love that you can make it for any size that you want. Let's put this in the middle. I'm going to put it right in the middle instead. So you can change it up however you'd like as well. And you can use rhinestones, or these are the new dots that are in the new catalog, so you can use that too. I'm going to just throw a few little rhinestones on here real quick, and then that finishes out your card. So there you go. There's 3 new ways to use your brushes with different things that you probably already even own. And I'm going to show you what I did with my background that I created when I had laid this down. I still probably need a little bit of glue there, so I'm going to go back and redo that. So remember how we made the background with this? Well, this is the card that I created with that background. Is that not beautiful? Look at your little shiny rhinestones. And again, I used the punch. The words that I used are from the new set in the annual catalog called Inspired Thoughts. So I used both of those sayings from this stamp set. So create your own piece. I would love to see what you do with that piece that you created, and go ahead and post it out on Robin's Hood of Merry Makers. If you're not a member of that group, please ask to join, and I'd love to have you come in. So there you go, guys. You've created 3 new cards with, oh, I can't find my third one, with the blending brushes. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you will just blend your hearts out. Thank you so much, and happy stamping.